connection that impacts women at every stage of their life, the link between your gut and your hormones. And I'd like to welcome Bernadette Clensey. She's founder of Raw Nutrition, a clinic that specialises in women's hormonal health. Bernadette supports women navigating menopause, perimenopause, PCOS and endometriosis, combining evidence-based nutrition with practical lifestyle strategies to restore energy, rebalance hormones and improve overall well-being. She's passionate about turning complex science into clear, actionable steps, and her work highlights how the gut and the microbiome influence hormone function, mood and inflammation. Her talk is titled The Gut-Hormone Connection, How the Microbiome Shapes Women's Health, and Bernadette will show how changes in the gut can impact estrogen balance, inflammation, mood and energy, and share some simple practical ways to support your microbiome to improve hormonal well-being.
So before I get into the nitty-gritty of female hormones, I wanted to share a fact with you. Did you know that your gut is home to around 100 trillion microbes? That's more than the number of stars in the Milky Way galaxy. And I mean, for me, I just found this absolutely astounding to think that inside your gut right now, you have the universe doing goodness knows what, how many millions of different processes are going on right now. And I think it just tells you about the enormity of this, of the gut and what it's actually capable of. So today I'm going to be talking about women's health, women's hormones, and really focusing on two of the biggest hitters, which are estrogen and progesterone. And so before we deep dive into the gut, I wanted to share this graph with you, and you might not be able to see it right at the back, but we've got estrogen and progesterone. Estrogen is that little pink dotted line, and progesterone is the thick orange line that kind of floats underneath it. And this is how those two hormones behave across a woman's lifespan. And so just before a girl has her first period, we get estrogen and progesterone both starting to enter the stage. And you can just see here these little fluctuations of estrogen and then progesterone starting to climb and to get higher. And it can take quite some time for these hormones to establish themselves. So generally speaking, these hormones start to get into a more rhythmic pattern in the late teens and the early 20s. And you can see from here that estrogen is this nice little gentle ebb and flow, a rise and fall, like a little speed boat going up and down throughout a woman's cycle. But the progesterone is quite a lot more dramatic. So when you think about a woman's cycle, in the second half, progesterone leaps up, and then just before she has her period, it crashes down. And this can have quite a serious impact on many different things, but the gut as well. Then we move through the stage of perimenopause, which you may or may not have heard of that stage. Perimenopause is generally hits a woman around the late 30s to late 40s, maybe up to the early 50s as well. And this is when estrogen starts to misbehave somewhat. So rather than those nice little bumps that we get, it starts to shoot up really high. I think I'm scaring the pigeons. And then it drops really low. And this can cause many different issues with women because of those highs and lows. And then as we can see, progesterone is still doing its thing, but it's getting a lot lower. And this then, as we transition into menopause, so for most women between 45 to 55 years old, menopause is a year without a period, and Progesterone, interestingly, starts to resemble childhood levels, and estrogen is still doing its thing, but eventually when you walk through that door into postmenopause and become a menopause graduate, both estrogen and progesterone become very, very low and stable levels. And it's kind of important for me to go through this so that you understand how that interplays with the gut as well. So, we're going to have a look at estrogen first. Did you know that your gut bacteria can recycle estrogen? And, you know, when I found out about this, it just blew my mind. I had no idea until I started studying nutrition and how they affect women's hormones, just what a big player this actually is. So there are a group of microbes called the estrobolome, and the estrobolome is made up of the good guys, just like your microbiome. So bifidobacterium, lactobacillus, and then it's got a few naughty species or microbes in there as well. And you need those little naughty microbes, but at a really low level. So you don't want them overpopulating, you just want a small amount. And they work together, they work with the gut microbiome, they work with the signals from the brain, signals from the liver, signals from the heart, so they aren't just isolated, but the estrobolome helps decide how much estrogen is excreted out in your poo and how much is reabsorbed into the system. And it's a really fine balance. You know, it's quite delicate. I don't know if you've walked through the inflatable gut yet, but you might have seen when you were in there that the microbiome is not static. It moves, it changes daily, and the estrobolome is part of that as well. So, as I said, it's made up of different bacteria. It helps us to have the right amount of estrogen in our body, but it can be easily affected, easily disrupted. And when it's disrupted, the little bad guys, they start to take over, they start punching their weight around in the gut, and they release an enzyme, so a substance, that basically starts to recycle more estrogen. And you may or may not have heard of the term estrogen dominance, but in some women, that is when they have too much estrogen compared to the progesterone cycling around their body, and this can cause quite a few issues, and we don't want that to happen. And this can be a result of so many different things. So antibiotics, chronic stress, pollution, processed foods, not enough fibre, all of those different things can really impact the ecology and the estrobolome. And so what does this look like across a woman's lifespan? Well, a woman in her 20s to 30s, so she's cycling, hopefully, she's having regular cycles. This could actually lead to heavier, more painful periods. It could lead to bloating, tender boobs, and mood swings as well. And you might look at this and go, Bernadette, that's just what a period is. This is what women go through. But actually, no, women shouldn't be going through this every month. This is not normal for women to have it, where it's impacting the quality of their life. Periods are natural. They should be easy. But I can see from quite a lot of your faces that you're thinking, no, this is exactly what I went through. And so it could be that there is a bit of estrogen dominance. There's probably a lot of other things going on at the same time. And perimenopause, so that's that period of time in a woman's life where the estrogen's bouncing off the walls and doing all sorts of chaotic things. And so if you've got fluctuating estrogen and you've got an imbalanced gut and your estrogen is not doing what it's supposed to do, then that can up the symptoms. Things can get worse. So a lot of women who come through my clinic experience really debilitating symptoms. So the heavy periods have turned into flooding. And this flooding can just come out of thin air. And that is just horrendous. You know, women walking to the shops and this happens. It's such a nightmare. And it can also mean persistent migraines. And a lot of women don't think, oh, that could be because I've got too much estrogen in my body. That's probably the last thing that they're thinking. It can be sleep issues. It could be waking up at like 3 o'clock in the morning with the heartbeat going da-da-da-da-da-da, and you're thinking, what on earth is going on? I have no idea why I've got these symptoms. And then lovely PMS as well. And so the mood is changing even more. It's becoming more erratic. And a lot of women going through perimenopause really suffer with mental health. And one of the reasons could be this estrogen dominance. And also there can be quite significant changes to breast tissue as well. So when estrogen is too high in a woman's body, it can change the fibres in the breast tissue. Breasts should be soft. Sorry, that's a really weird thing to say, but they should be. And the estrogen can make those fibres quite dense, and it can also create cysts, which is not what you want. And some women can get up to 50 to 100 cysts in their breasts, which of course is terrifying and very, very stressful. So these are some of the things that can happen, and it's quite, I don't want to be all doom and gloom, but the reason why I'm highlighting this is because I don't think it's talked about enough in, you know, general life, in the medical system. I don't think that a lot of women are aware that this could be because their gut is not working properly. And so I'm just highlighting some of the things that could be going on. So, the final one is endometriosis. So this, as Catherine said, is something that I specialise in, and I have endometriosis myself. So endometriosis is an estrogen-driven and an estrogen-fuelled condition. And it's where the lining of the uterus starts to grow where it shouldn't grow on the outside of the uterus. And these adhesions, they start to build up, and they're very sticky, and they attach themselves to the bowel, to the bladder, to the pelvis, and they cause huge amounts of pain and inflammation. So of course, if you suffer from a condition like endometriosis, then what's the last thing that you want in your body? More estrogen. There is a little bit of chicken and egg with endometriosis as well, because some people believe that dysbiosis is what starts it. So it's sort of like, which one has happened first? We're not quite sure yet. So the estrogen in menopause. I know that you were thinking, oh, it'd be good to talk about this. So yeah, it would be very remiss of me not to talk about the impact of this, because of course when you go through menopause, estrogen falls to that low steady level. So what happens? What happens to your gut when you go through menopause? So this is the bidirectional switch. Well, firstly, it reduces our diversity of gut bacteria, and there is a big shift in the bacterial profiles. And really interesting, and I don't know how this fact is going to go down, but women's microbiomes start to resemble men's microbiomes when they go through menopause. So I found that fascinating, because what it shows is estrogen is majorly protective in the gut, all over the body, but also in the gut, which I find fascinating. So what does this mean? So it could be that women have more inflammation once they've walked through that door of menopause and onwards. And inflammation in the gut can cause a lot of food sensitivities, and women coming through my clinic, this is one of the biggest things. Bernadette, I can't eat wheat anymore, I can't have bread anymore, it bloats me out, dairy's a nightmare. And then there's really unusual ones like peppers, carrots, just it seems so random. And it could be because the body is starting to reject certain types of foods, because estrogen likes to smooth everything out in the microbiome, in the gut. It likes everything to be happy and calm. And so when it exits the building, this can start to happen. And if you've got inflammation in the gut, this can cause leaky gut. I don't know if you've heard of this expression before. Maybe, maybe not. So your gut lining is amazing. It protects you from all of the things that it doesn't want going into your central system, into circulation. And it's packed tightly. It's got lots of mucus and all of the cells are nicely packed together. What you don't want is for those cells to start to separate, because the naughty stuff can get through and then circulate around your body. And again, I see lots of women who, once they've gone through menopause, have skin conditions like rosacea. And so that's when you start to get sort of like red spots that come and go, often around the cheeks. It can flush. It can be very embarrassing for a lot of women. But also, if women have suffered from skin conditions like psoriasis or eczema, it can really ramp up. In perimenopause as well, I should say, not just menopause. Aches and pains, brain fog, because those molecules, those naughty molecules, can travel all over the body and they can go through into the brain as well. And so I don't know if anybody's like me, where they're halfway through a sentence and they forget what they're saying, which is wonderful. Yeah, it's horrific, isn't it? It's not, but that's the thing. It's not just an age thing. It's a hormone thing, and it can be a gut thing as well. Oh, you have to wait till the end. It won't be long. It won't be long. And also, because of the bacterial profile changes, this can make women's blood pressure go higher, which, who knew that bacteria in the gut could actually do this kind of thing? And also, and I think you mentioned this as well when we were chatting, some women, because of the change of bacteria, are unable or have less ability to metabolize those healthy fats. So guess what happens? Cholesterol ends up going really high. Who knew that the gut could do all of this? It's amazing.
Sorry, that's because of estrogen falling low and it affects the bacteria.
Yeah, we start to lose our diversity of bacteria. Now, it could be other things as well. So this is only part of the story. This is just a little bit of it, but this could be contributing towards
But
that.
if it's estrogen, it's any age like PCOS that can cause menopause. It's not just menopause.
Yeah, and that's why with PCOS, if you don't have estrogen ruling the roost in the gut and controlling everything, you can put on a lot of weight. A lot of women with PCOS have obesity as well, and so that's where that could potentially happen as well. Yeah, it's a really good point that you made. But like I said before, it's not all doom and gloom. I feel like all I've been doing is talking about the negative things.
What's PCOS?
Yeah, sure. So,
Sorry.
no, it's a great question. So PCOS is polycystic ovarian syndrome, and what happens is in your ovaries, when the follicles are growing to become a mature egg, the estrogen isn't being released properly, and it's the testosterone that's driving it. And so a woman will end up having lots of little eggs that build up in the ovaries. So the mature egg is not being released, which is what happens in a woman's cycle each month. So that's PCOS. Does that help?
Thank you.
you're Googling it. I hope I'm right. Okay, so we're going to move on to progesterone as well. So did you know that progesterone is more than just a pregnancy hormone? Yes, again, of course, I wouldn't be mentioning it here if it didn't have some kind of impact on the gut. So the benefits, like estrogen, it helps to maintain that healthy gut lining. It's not quite as powerful as estrogen, but it still does quite a lot, so it is important. And I love this, I absolutely love it. There are specific species of bacteria in the gut that when the progesterone is going through it, they start to metabolize the progesterone and break it down into these wonderful calming compounds called allopregnenolone, or ALOP for short. And ALOP is your chill pill. It's so amazing, and if anybody has had HRT and has taken progesterone, they will probably feel that lovely kick of calm before they go to sleep when they take it, and that is because of the ALOP. Now ALOP in the gut relaxes everything, makes it nice and smooth or calm, but those molecules can also travel to the brain. So it's really important for anxiety as well. And anybody that's been through perimenopause or menopause, when the progesterone starts to go down, I have no doubt that there's been some kind of impact, whether it's small or large, on your mental well-being, on your happiness. If not, I salute you. You have an amazing body, but for most women, they start to feel that. So, isn't it amazing that bacteria can help with that? I also like to think of progesterone as the gut's stop-go hormone, especially for women who are still cycling and having their periods. And that's because progesterone slows the gut down. Now, for some women, they may not feel this at all. It may be absolutely fine, but other women may be quite sensitive to this. So if you remember the diagram, in that second half of a woman's cycle, the progesterone goes whoop, it goes really, really high, and so that can actually cause some issues in the gut. Bloating, constipation, IBS. Some women who may already have issues with the gut might feel this more pronounced. And that's because everything's just slowing down. And then when a woman gets her period, and remember, it peaks, and then just before the period, progesterone goes boom, and it just drops really dramatically, and that's where women can get diarrhea and pain and just the complete opposite of what they had before they started their period. It's just wonderful being a woman, isn't it? We have all of these nice things that happen. But if you are sensitive to progesterone, and a lot of women can be sensitive to progesterone, this could be behind it. It could be. There's, it doesn't work in isolation. Progesterone is not just here, sitting here, just on its own. It's talking to estrogen. It's talking to a whole host of other different things. But this could be one of the reasons for those symptoms as well. So, the happy part. What you can do to help yourself, and there are many things. But before we get into this, I'd just like to say, always go slowly with changes. Always do baby steps, because the gut is a precious thing. It's a very sensitive thing, and it doesn't like change too many dramatic changes at once. And all of these recommendations that I'm making here are so simple. They are not rocket science. They are very, very easy. And you'll probably roll your eyes and go, yeah, I've heard it all before. Yeah, here we go. So, this is what I tell every single client who comes through my clinic. Drink. Make sure you're drinking enough water. Hydrate yourself. Think about progesterone especially, and women who are going through that second part of their cycle where everything slows down. You want to make sure you're fully hydrated. And I've put in there, filtered if possible, because, and in glass bottles where possible, because things like, water quality is just not the same as it used to be. So I live in Devon. The water is still quite bad in Devon. You think because we're by the beach, it's lovely. No. There's still lots of toxins in the water, and that just puts added pressure on the gut and your whole body, and plastics as well. It's just good to be aware of it. Feed those lovely microbes. Feed, feed, feed. Variety is the spice of life. It's very easy for us with our busy schedules to just eat the same things every day, but it doesn't need to be too difficult. Sprinkle some herbs, sprinkle some spice, have a little bit of cinnamon on your chai latte or your cappuccino. Have these little things that you can do. It doesn't have to be too difficult. Prebiotics and probiotics, have you heard of these? Yeah. So prebiotics feed our microbes. They can munch on them and they love it. And prebiotics are things like leeks, bananas, pistachios. There are a whole host of different prebiotics. Probiotics are things like kefir, if you've heard of that, natural yogurts, tempeh, miso. Oh, the list is endless, and they have the live bacteria in them. So the lactobacillus, the bifidobacterium. Protein and cruciferous veg. So the liver and the gut work really closely together, and the liver, to detoxify hormones, needs protein and it needs veg, specifically cruciferous veg. So this would be, protein, chicken, fish, egg, tofu, tempeh if you're vegan or veggie, eggs, and then the cruciferous, broccoli, cabbage, rocket. Do we like those types of food? There's a few nods. So these are really, really good. They help your liver, they help your gut to get rid of those things that you don't want to hang on to. Or there might be a few boos in the audience now with alcohol. So I'm not saying take alcohol out of your life, of course not, but maybe reduce it, especially if you have some of these symptoms. It could be really helpful. And I'd say for women who are cycling in that second half, where everything's slowing down, that's a really good time to reduce or take out the alcohol. Yeah, your faces have all gone. It never goes down well, that one. And moving every day. Your gut needs movement. We tend to sit down. Me too, I'm guilty of it as well. And then your gut is static, but it needs movement. But it doesn't have to be pumping weights at the gym. It can just be dancing, it can be walking, it can be anything, but moving the body is so, so important.
Sorry, why? Is it because of the other hormones?
And then
because of the physical things?
more about the gut, so making sure that the gut stays fluid, so that, because the gut contracts, doesn't it? And so if you're sitting down,
so it's the mechanical part of it.
Exactly.
Okay.
It's the mechanical part, yeah. But that mechanical part is also helping to excrete too, to get rid of everything, yeah. And then stress and sleep. I can't say, reduce your stress, because that's the stupidest thing in the world to say, isn't it? We all have stress. But women are hard on themselves. We are so hard on ourselves, and we have such busy lives. So all I'll say is just be kind to yourself, love yourself, don't be too hard, and that's it. So if you're interested, you can follow me on my socials. I'm hanging around for a bit afterwards, so if you've got any questions as well that you want to ask, I'll be more than happy to answer. Thank you so much for putting up with me, for listening to me. You've been amazing. Thank you.